It's not about writing better prompts per se. It's what you write the prompts about. This is what I think is the key to getting better results out of ChatGPT. So I'm no expert on AI chatbots. All I'm doing is giving you a synopsis into what I've found useful over the last few months and what have I been using it for. I've only been really using it for brainstorming ideas for products and content, coming up with keyword lists of keywords that could be good for creating new products, and then copy, text, sales pages, blog posts, and longer form text like books. So that's all I've been using it for, but that is a huge part of my business, and it's probably a huge part of your business as well. The first piece of advice for writing better prompts for ChatGPT is to be specific. This should be obvious by now, but here is an example of me doing it badly and then doing it well. So here's an example of not being specific enough in a prompt. Rookie mistake. Think of 10 examples of low content logbooks, and ChatGPT just gave me the obvious ones. I've known or done about most of these. Actually, recipe organizer I didn't know about, but that's not a good one for me. An example of getting it a bit better, narrowing down the request. So I'm saying that mandala coloring books are already very popular. Can you think of another theme to cross it with? And it did much better with this, coming up with fantasy, geometric shapes, zodiac signs, animals at a push. There were enough ideas for me to come up with something else, and so I went down the fantasy route, and then I got it to give me some examples of fantasy elements that I could combine with mandalas for a colouring book. So keep the prompts specific. The more information you give the chatbot, the better the result you'll get from it. And then carrying on from that example, you saw me enter into a conversation with ChatGPT. So that is very useful. You maybe not get what you want the first time, and that's okay. And it'll just teach you how to prompt better. So it comes up with a more general and rather useless answer, an answer that you knew already, something very obvious. So you just deep dive into it and say, well, that wasn't very helpful because I already knew that. What I really wanted to know was this. And then the conversation will be much better for you. So if you don't get what you want, you can then ask extra questions. You can see archived chats. You can go back to old chats, and ChatGPT will remember what you were talking about and what you've told it and give you answers accordingly. So this is a particularly useful feature, I think. The next piece of advice is to add context to your prompts. This is especially important when you're asking for sales copy or product ideas. And in this way, I find it very important to identify the audience, identify the niche if you can, if you know it. But there will be things that you know when you're writing the prompt that you need to say, and that's the context. So if it's a sales page, you would say, this is aimed at 30-something solopreneurs from the United States. The context is very important. I usually find that's to do with the demographic of the audience or the customers or the market or something like that. You have to add the context. So I was looking for some ideas for non-fiction books. I narrowed it down to Gen X men in a specific geographical location. I gave it a bit of background, saying it's only going to be 25 words and sold in these various formats. And also I narrowed it down by saying, please think out of the box, make it quite a small niche, maybe selling only a few copies every day, because otherwise ChatGPT would come up with something too obvious. And it did come up with a few decent ideas that I could work with. I quite like the navigating midlife transitions, and also I've looked on Amazon for that, and there are some good keywords there that I could maybe target. Encourage ChatGPT to think outside of the box. I've said in the past that it comes up with a lot of obvious answers, and I actually ask it to come up with something more niche, more obscure, more specific, in something that's only going to sell only a few copies a day. Now, ChatGPT is a tool. It's going to help you save time and hopefully save money. And one of the ways it can do this is with processes. It's very good with processes, but you have to be able to prompt it in order to give you the process. If you're thinking of a task, ask ChatGPT to narrow it down into steps and stages, actionable steps and stages. And it will do that for you. But then you can drill down further into those little steps and stages and get it to give you even more information about the process. And you will find this very useful. Here's an example of that. So I'm asking it here about finding a good niche within a certain category in Amazon. It's laid out all of these steps that I pretty much know anyway, but it's very helpful in that it will remind you of something that you've forgotten. When you are going through processes in your business, you can often find yourself leaving out certain steps. I've found that ChatGPT actually kind of prompts me to remember certain things and prompts me to become more creative by coming up with lists of ideas which will inevitably include something that I wouldn't have thought of. And I want to add to that and talk about long form text. So let's say you want to write a book about a subject. Let's say you thought of the subject already. You want to write a book. Don't ask ChatGPT to write you the book for you. I mean, it should be obvious. But you should first ask ChatGPT to lay out the skeleton plan of the book with the chapters and subheadings. And it will do that, but it won't do it very well. So you go back into that and think of all the things that you can think of that it's missed out. It will probably add a few chapters that you can combine into one chapter. It will repeat things, but maybe it'll just do things in the way that you wouldn't have done it. But the important thing is that you go back to ChatGPT with your revised book plan and then drill into all the chapters and subheadings inside that book plan and then get it to eke out information and things that you might have forgotten within those chapters and subheadings. And that will make your book so much better. ChatGPT is a tool. It's an aid to your creativity. It will make you a better creator. I was thinking the other day about AI, as I've seen some amazing things on Midjourney and image generators and text chatbots as well. And I was thinking that AI will be better than me. It will be better at writing text than me one day. It will create better images than me. It will create better videos than me. But it will never be a better me than me. And that's why I think creating your own personal brand is probably even more important now than it ever was. My name's Rob Cubban. I'll see you in another video.